customers that weren't actually wings. The company was even taken to court over the issue. They admitted to using chicken breast prepared and fried in such a way to make it look like boneless chicken wings instead of using actual bird wings. If this weren't nefarious enough, the company took another hit in 2023 when it pulled all of its remaining locations out of Canada due to poor sales. These closures seem to have occurred one by one over a long period of time, leading us to wonder what might be in the works for Buffalo Wild Wings in 2024. If the underperformance and dishonest actions are any indication, the future might just be a little less wild and less wing-filled.
You didn't like it.
No. Fuddruckers got its start in Texas in 1980 with a promise that set it apart, as the buns housing its scrumptious burgers were baked daily from scratch on site. There's a lot to love about this idea, but we might not get to enjoy it for much longer. Fuddruckers is hardly the grand-scale chain that it used to be, as there are a mere 60 locations left in the United States. While the story is a long one with multiple twists and turns, it appears that a consistent dip in revenue and popularity can be attributed to Fuddruckers' acquisition by the company Luby's in 2010. The new owner made some less than popular changes that ended up driving earnings down rather than up. In 2020, Luby's itself was liquidated, and Black Titan Industries took over the flailing Fuddruckers locations. While this most recent owner has been admirably trying to rekindle things, we fear that poor Fuddruckers might be too far gone to revive. White Castle is the world's original burger chain. It got the ball rolling for all fast food beef and fry restaurants when its first location opened in 1921. But is it possible that White Castle's long reign might be finally coming to an end? Some recent financial troubles certainly have us concerned. Sadly enough, multiple White Castles have been closing across the nation. While a few shutdowns are hardly reason to panic, there's also the matter of a multi-billion-dollar lawsuit. In 2023, White Castle was sued by one of its managers, and the fallout could cost the company a whopping $17 billion. In February, a White Castle in Illinois was found regarding digital identification systems. The employees had been using a technology for 10 years that failed to ask whether or not it was okay that their personal information, in this case their fingerprints, was being assessed via a third-party verification platform.
It's ridiculous. The whole thing is ridiculous.
This is illegal in Illinois, and the state Supreme Court ruled that the franchise had to pay for every single instance that it occurred. A payout of this magnitude can certainly be difficult to recover from, so it's definitely reason enough to worry about White Castle's long-term future. Originally known as Boston Chicken, Boston Market has been on the decline for years, and things certainly haven't improved much in 2023. There are currently about 310 locations in the U.S. While that might not sound too concerning, if you take a look at the bigger picture, some major issues begin to become clear. At its peak, Boston Market could boast 1,200 locations. So what has led to such a severe downsizing? For one thing, there has been a fair bit of scandal. In August 2023, 27 different locations were ordered to be closed by the Labor Department of New Jersey when it emerged that the franchise owed its workers $600,000 in outstanding wages. The company also had to pay a fine of $2.6 million, which only added to their pile of financial trouble. Boston Market will need to implement some changes if it ever hopes to turn around its fortunes. There's nothing quite like filing for bankruptcy to signal the beginning of the end for a restaurant chain. And this is exactly what Old Country Buffet appears to be going through. The formerly popular all-you-can-eat chain once had more than 600 locations to its name. But as of 2023, they're down to a mere 13, many or all of which appear to be standing but not actually operating. What could be to blame for this downfall? As it turns out, bankruptcy is the culprit, and multiple filings at that. The first time happened in 2008, and then again in 2012, and once more in 2016 as well. That latter filing was precipitated by a lawsuit involving salmonella that lost the franchise millions when it was already in financial turmoil. By the time that Old Country Buffet filed for its fourth bankruptcy, its company, Barbecue Holdings, had pretty much thrown in the towel for good. Since poor Old Country Buffet is basically dead already, we're hoping that it just gets put out of its misery sooner rather than later. While it might seem impossible that a burger chain as iconic as Steak 'n Shake could be destined for eternal doom, the evidence speaks for itself. The company's footprint has been slowly and quietly diminishing for a while now. In 2018, QSR magazine reported that the chain had 626 locations under its belt. By 2022, the number had been reduced to just over 500. Now, at the end of 2023, there are a total of 493 Steak 'n Shakes across the United States. But surprisingly enough, as reported by Restaurant Business, the franchise's overall sales actually improved throughout 2023. Despite that good news, Steak 'n Shake continues to close multiple locations. This pattern might seem strange, but strange or not, restaurants being shut down with no sign of stopping is never a good sign.
Oh, no!
We're keeping our fingers crossed that the coming years don't see Steak 'n Shake completely disappearing. After all, their steak burgers are pretty undeniably delicious. If you're a fan and happen to drive by a local spot, then you just might want to consider stepping inside and showing some love. After all, it's looking like you might not have that many opportunities left to do so. Crystal is a burger chain known for its beefy creations, melty breakfast sandwiches, loaded hot dogs, tater tots, and fries. Founded in Tennessee, it's been serving up deliciousness for nearly a century. But its performance over the last few years is making observers wonder how much longer those burgers will continue to sizzle on their grills. As reported by Restaurant Business, Crystal filed for bankruptcy in 2020 and was sold to Fortress Investment Group. The new owners developed a plan that involved selling restaurants in an attempt to stimulate growth and profits. The process of refranchising in this manner can take a while, though. Considering Crystal's drastic demise over the past 10 years, we'd be surprised if it has the time to wait for a salvation that's far from guaranteed.
Yes.
Sometimes the best intentions don't yield the best results, and this is especially true in the restaurant business. Pie 5 was a quick-stop chain offering personal make-it-your-way pizzas that seemed to be the perfect example of a great idea that just didn't quite pan out. While Pie 5 was developed mainly for college shopping malls,
oh no!
the concept hasn't taken off as hoped. As reported by Restaurant Business, about 2/3 of the original Pie 5 locations have shut their doors for good. Fortunately for the owner of Pie 5, Rave Restaurant Group, they also operate another original cheese and sauce chain called Pizza Inn, and it's doing much better. Rave reportedly plans to slowly integrate its more successful business into its failing one by selling pizza branded as Pizza Inn on the Pie 5 shelves. Ultimately, it looks like Pie 5 will be phased out until it's nothing more than a sauce. Pancho's Mexican Buffet is one of those chains that peaked in the 90s and early 2000s. Nostalgic customers now reminisce online about the once popular chain's jingle, which used to play on TV.
Got my beer on. I kill ya!
However, Pancho's has sadly and slowly dwindled since its golden age, from around 140 locations at its prime, all the way down to just 2, both in Texas. Though it's hard to determine exactly what has led to its demise, the trouble seems to have begun when the came under new ownership in 2001. The 2 remaining locations are still serving all-you-can-eat tacos and sopapitas, but it seems like
gonna kill you next.
For a while. In 2021, customers flocked to the doors of one of the final Panchos for what they thought would be their final meal there, after a rumored permanent shutdown was reported by local news. Strangely, though, that closure never happened, though we wouldn't be surprised if it does end up happening very soon. Furs is a cafeteria-style chain that was hit incredibly hard during the COVID-19.
Got my beer, banana, I'm
all
gonna
of its
kill you
locations
next.
following the height of the virus, and to the dismay of loyal customers, they've never opened back up. As of 2023, all of Furs locations still remain unused, while some have even been demolished. But a recent unexpected glimmer of hope has been ignited in Lubbock, Texas. Rumors of a potential resurrection were reported on the website for the Lone Star 99.5 radio station. While the abandoned Furs in Lubbock was torn down in 2022, a local restaurant called the Escondido Grill is reportedly assembling Furs' most popular recipes for an event to highlight its lost tastes. Few details have been released about what exactly this celebration will entail, but it will no doubt be full of nostalgia. However, we wonder if this brief will only serve to commemorate the passing of the Furs era. Piccadilly Restaurants opened its doors for the first time back in 1932 as a single buffet-style cafeteria. It didn't begin its expansion until 1944 when a new and ambitious owner swooped in and developed it into a popular chain that spread across the South. Following the popular all-you-can-eat trend of the time, Piccadilly enjoyed success as a beloved restaurant that faithfully fed throngs of hard-working American families. However, as it stands in 2023, things are not exactly looking good for Piccadilly, as the chain continues to close multiple locations. In Jacksonville, Florida, for example, there were headlines around the shutdown of one particular Piccadilly that had been serving locals for 50 years.
It's just hard. Very hard. Gonna get me crying soon.
And this is hardly the first closing that the company has dropped on consumers without any warning or explanation. Similar occurrences have also recently happened in the bustling cities of Alexandria and Gonzales, Louisiana.
Anyways,
Since the company has remained tight-lipped as to the reasons why it appears to be downsizing, we can only speculate